Art Laffer joins us. Art, I want to know, is the supply chain crisis at the very heart of our inflation problem?
Well, it's surely at the heart of the very near-term inflation problem, Stuart. It's not the total cause by any means, but the supply chain has pushed prices up, that's for sure. And they will come down later if this thing is ever solved, if they ever get it back open again. That will happen. So it's not a long-term inflation issue.
Okay.
It's really a short-term one, but the short-term is very important, and it really is inuring very much to Biden's detriment. I mean, when you talked about Lake George being the wine country, Washington, D.C. is the wine country.
Okay. How would Art Laffer fix the inflation problem?
I'd follow Reagan's advice. Don't just stand there. Undo something. Get them out. Stop paying people not to work. Get the government out of the process, and that thing will clear up very quickly. That's exactly what needs to be done. It's the government that is causing the supply chain problem. It's not the solution, it's the cause. And the same thing with rapid testing and all the other things. The one thing that Trump knew how to do was get production to work correctly. And when he put through that operation to get a warp speed, to get it, it worked because he worked with the markets, not against them.
If Trump was still present, he'd be down on the shoreline at Los Angeles at the port with a bullhorn telling people what to do and how to do it and getting things moving. But there's no sign of that movement. I mean, Biden's just not getting it done. And the transportation secretary, it reminds me of Vice President Harris, who delayed forever going to the border for 3 hours, and now the transportation secretary making his first visit to the port of Los Angeles, the first visit after all these months.
Didn't you expect that with Buttigieg, though? Even in the primary, you could tell that this is not a guy who gets stuff done. When he ran his own city, it was a problem. I mean, here is a guy who loves chitty-chatting and talking and never getting off the dime and doing something. And that's the same thing with Kamala Harris. It's very sad, but they are just messing things up.
Tomorrow, we get the Consumer Price Index. Would you have any, last time around it was 6.8% inflation. Would you have any kind of forecast as to what we might see tomorrow?
Yeah, well, let me just give you how to look at it. We're going to lose 1 month of a year ago, and we're going to gain 1 month of this year. So the total change will be dependent on 2 months. 1 month a year ago and 1 month this year. We're going to substitute 1 month this year for 1 month a year ago. Now, the 1 month a year ago's inflation was relatively very small. So even if it's not a huge number this month, it will push that 6.8% up. I am expecting the 6.8% to go up a little bit. Not much, but a little bit in the next one, because only 1 month changes, and a year ago's month was a low inflation month, not a high one. So if we get any type of inflation this month, it'll be up a little higher than 6.8, maybe 6.97, something like that, which is very bad news for the administration.
That would also mean that the wage gains of working people over the past year will have been virtually wiped out for many with a 7% inflation rate, right?
Totally. Not only the wage gains for the people who've been getting, wage gains have been eaten away by the inflation, but think of interest rates, Stuart. I mean, when you go to borrow money, all right, and you got to pay it, or you lend money to the government. If you lend money to the government, let's say in a 10 years, 1.5% a year average, and you're losing 7% in the value, you're lending that money, you're paying the government 6% a year to take your money.
Not good.
That's just ridiculous.
Not good. Art, I'm sorry I'm out of time.
None of this is good.
It was
That's
great
okay, Stuart.
Great
Wonderful. Thank you.
We'll see you again soon. Thanks, Art Laffer. Good stuff.